the Prison City Podcast. When the bars go up, you're officially locked in.
Welcome to the Prison City Podcast, folks. I am your unofficial host, Patrick W. Cutler. We have a very good show today. We have Mike Freze on here today, straight from fucking California, Southern Cal there. Really brilliant guy here. We're going to talk about a lot of cool things. Mahones is very excited for the show. I think Kelly is. We talked for probably over a week about the actual topic, so we're all very prepared for the topic this week, which is conspiracy theories is the main topic. So we are all super prepared for that. And it's going to be fun to see how this episode goes. It's wild. It's crazy. We say whatever you want. I will say a caption before we get into this episode is this. I'm doing a caption here because CNN and Fox News won't do this fucking shit where it's like, okay, what we talk about here is not meant to be like fucking 110% factual. Unlike other news stations that promote that shit. And then they censor you for disagreeing with that. It's so fucking annoying. We'll at least be honest that we're talking about different theories, different ideas, different things. We're open-minded, free-thinking people. So what we're about to do tonight is not going to be 110% factual. It's just us talking about different things. Take it for what you want. It's sad that the other news networks will not fucking do that when they promote basically lies on TV. And it's kind of depressing they won't do that. But we're going to be straight up honest every fucking show. And so, Kelly, so did 9/11 actually ever happen? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, it definitely happened. I disagree with you because every single thing that I'm going to say tonight is 100% factual and backed by science. And I just want to say, when you said the topic of tonight was conspiracy theories, I think I saw Mahoney's eyes roll so hard my computer did this. So let's have a good time out here tonight, and I'm excited to talk with Mr. Mike Freze. He's a brilliant guy.
Hey, so we're going to Mahones.
Entertainment stuff as well.
Yeah, big time. We're going to Mahones here, and let's just split topics here for a brief second. And the reason that Mike Freze is honestly on is because his younger brother, Matt, did not come through with Enigma. And what do you have to say about that, Mahones?
Hey, welcome back, everybody, at PCP. It's good to be back again here. I don't have much to say about Enigma that hasn't been said. I do think I'm excited to talk to Mike Freze as we kind of work our way through the Freze family, and then we'll compare them to the Brat family that we're going to interview here over the next couple months. All the great Deer Lodge families.
All right, and our last kind of gonna be our normal part of the Prison City Podcast is Matt Cutler. He works the lighting technician for Cutler Brothers Theater and many other things. So Matt, what do you have to say so far tonight? Introduce yourself. Matt, you need to
on mute, my man.
He's new.
It's okay. He's still new. He's still new, folks.
Yep, he's new. Hit that mute button.
Sorry, I had something brilliant prepared, and that just kind of wiped out the moment. But glad to be back. Glad to dive into some conspiracies. I kind of know how Kelly feels on this. I'm willing to take a Mike Freze view of some things. I'd like to hear what he has to say on certain things, and we'll have fun tonight.
All right, and that's the official panel. Now we're going to go to Mike Freze. Has a lot of experience in filmmaking and multimedia production. He recently did Kelly's wedding video, which is such a fucking phenomenal. It's probably I'm gonna be honest with you. No flabbergasting. It was the best fucking wedding video I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. Very highly talented guy, highly intelligent guy. We're working on a lot of different projects coming forward with Mike Freze here with filmmaking, comedy, live comedy, improv, everything else. And I'll just let you take the wheel here, Mike.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Rookie.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for those kind words. And I just recently saw Enigma, and I gotta say, man, like I'm really blown away. I would like to have this whole podcast be about Enigma if we can. Is
yes.
that cool with you guys?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a few episodes since we've done a full Enigma one, so
yeah,
I think we're probably ready to jump in again.
Yeah, after I made the wedding video with Kelly, and then I did I edited the roast of Kelly Cutler. And then I started looking for more footage because I was going to redo the opening because Pat had some copyrighted music on there. And I discovered the treasure trove of Cutler, like, archive, right? Like on Facebook. I didn't know that Pat was like loading this stuff up. And that's literally when I found out about Enigma. And I was like, holy shit. And I watched it and I was like, holy shit, that's fucking Matt. And he never told me about Enigma, right? And then I watched Enigma, and now I know why he didn't tell me about it.
So, for an audience out there, like Matt Freze never told his older brother about a fucking film that when his brother was into filmmaking. That's a little fucked up. I don't know what your relationship is at this point.
I was like, man, that was like 2004. Like, I could have helped you guys with like I could have stole some film school.
Hey, Mike, we
Helped us
clearly
with
didn't
everything.
need any help on that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've seen how many hits it has on YouTube, but I think we're doing just fine.
Yeah. Like I said, I am a little jealous. You know.
Yeah,
But it was great. It was really cool seeing that. And then, you know, I went down the rabbit hole, the Mad Dad and the Going Nowhere and just, you know, going over like the comedy night stuff, you know. It's just so great. You know, every time I see Kelly, every time I see you guys in Deer Lodge, it's always like a year later or whatever. And I see little improvements to the theater, but it's so cool to just be able to see all of the stuff you guys did over the years, you know.
So, Mike, I believe last time you came to Deer Lodge, wasn't that our Madden football Super Bowl down at the theater?
No,
that was one of the times. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was actually at the wedding too.
Yeah, which I'm saying, it's kind of weird that he gets to see how much different shit we have going on throughout the year. Which,
I was gonna make a point though. Talking to Mike for a while now. So it turns out your younger brother is actually homosexual now. Is that correct? God. No, I had a point I was going to make, but let's go to Mahomes here. Chime in for 2
Well, that was brought up in the roast many times. I think. You know?
That was pretty. It was pretty much me.
Yeah, it's pretty. I was going to say
we could have just. We could have just asked Matt when he was on the show, but no, we'd rather wait 15 episodes than ask his older brother.
Yeah, well, you know, I could tell you guys the real dirt of, you know, wrestling matches with Patrick Cutler and Andrew Wongren in the basement. There was one time, you know, Brant Pearson, obviously. Well, when he was, I think, a sophomore in high school, we went downstairs and they were all wrestling, and Brant like suplexed one of them on the bed downstairs and it snapped it in half. I think it was Andy Wongren.
The wrestling days were fucking. It was fun. It was great. It was fun. But
it was. Yeah, no, it's really great to be here with you guys, and you know, if you want to talk some conspiracies, I'm always down for that. You know.
So, Mike, before we jump into the fucking nonsense, just a quick question. What made you laugh the most when you were editing the wedding video? Because I know there was some funny shit in there.
Oh, the wedding video?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have to say the stuff that I cut out, for sure. Like Patrick and
no, it's over. It's over. Podcast. It's over.
So you saw the wedding video, Mark? Did you see
no, I haven't seen it at all.
Oh shit!
I just know that Kelly was mic'd up on his wedding day, and so
yeah, it's insane what he said.
I had to cut a lot of that out too.
Just I'll say this. I'll say this for Mike. Like he for the official wedding video. I don't know who Kelly showed it to or where he's done with it so far, but Mike here has saved my ass on that video a lot. He even said that. I said some fucking crazy ass shit during that video. And he's actually thought about putting out a rated R video. You thought about putting on a
Oh,
rated
yeah.
R
Oh,
version.
that's happening.
Yeah, you got to. You have to. That'd be awesome. I would
who-
pay money to see that.
Who wants to see a rated R
Yeah.
video of that wedding video?
Well, I do, but I want a copy of that recording because for our audience out there, so Mike did our wedding. Clearly, he mic'd me up from about 10:30, 11 in the morning, all night till about 9:30 at night, and I kept forgetting the mic was there. Clearly, and I'd say something, I'd be like, "Ah, shit, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that." Now I know Mike's producing, a wedding video that we're going to show to our, elderly aunt or whatever, so he's not going to put this terrible shit in there.
Yeah.
But I should say too, Mike, I'd like to release that video. We've talked about it, but maybe this is the time, since we're all here, maybe release it tonight or tomorrow
Go ahead.
on social media.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Good
I
thing,
mean,
an awesome thing.
I'll just say I don't think it's a bad idea at all. Releasing and stuff. So just a little background story about that. Mike actually reached out to me before you guys' wedding and everything and said, could I be kind of the guy that kind of coordinates different guests and people that talk in front of the video? So what I did was, and Mahomes knows how I am. What I basically did was take that to the fucking extreme as I was like a host of doing my own show basically. And basically I said whatever the fuck I felt like.
That's not surprising to anyone who's listened to even a single episode of this podcast. I think they generally get the flavor that that's some shit you do for sure.
So he had to cut out. He had to cut out. Yeah, he had to cut out 99% of what I actually said.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Hey, Mahomes,
Yeah,
are you just going to sit on the shitter this whole podcast? Are you going to go into the living room?
I'm actually I'm in a bedroom actually.
You got a shitter in your bedroom?
Yeah, man. Isn't that every man's goal? That's how I know I've made it. I got a shitter in the bedroom. Not even a bed. It's just a closet and a window and a shitter. It's a really nice shitter.
Hey, I can tell you the time about when Matt Freze got grounded for pissing in cups in his bedroom.
What?
I hear that one.
I think we need to hear that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
need to hear that
Well,
one.
Matt might watch this episode, so maybe he'll have to tell this when he comes back on in the future. But yeah, let's say that he didn't feel like going to the bathroom, and so he had a little collection that our mom found.
Oh god.
Yeah. Usually you do that. Usually you have cup under your bed of piss if you're getting drug tested and it's someone else's piss,
Okay, guys.
I'm not gonna say how old Matt was. I'll leave that up to you guys to guess that. But
Well, sometimes you're afraid to go to the bathroom, so I understand that. If you're a young kid. Now if you're in high school, that's another thing.
So update to our audience right now. Matt Cutler is getting married in a little less than a year right now. And we always do a roast. Oh yeah. Celebrate it. It's not gonna last long. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But our tradition is always to do a roast before.
That's what it's Matt.
What we always do a roast before the wedding of a new person. That's our tradition. And Matt's organizing the roast right now. But what I say is, let's say fuck it, and let's put on the roast panel Mike and Matt Freze and Mike and Mark Mahoney.
that would be awesome. I actually knew Mike Mahoney more than Mark growing up. When they how long did you guys live in our alley, Mark? Like in that house?
Yeah, and we were 810 Montana. We were there for like 2.5, 3 years, I think, maybe.
Yeah. That's it's crazy that like when you go live in bigger places and it's just we're so lucky to have that town that you guys are now the absolute cultural center of and every time I go back I'm just so thankful to have just to grow up there and to have that kind of closeness with everybody and I talked to Kelly and Pat a few times this week just about what you guys are doing and not necessarily that Deer Lodge doesn't get it, but they kind of don't really get it. It's such a rare thing that you guys have. I mean, even here in LA, like people just aren't like there isn't that kind of community. You know, it's always flooded with politics and bullshit and you know, so it's just everything you guys are doing is really exciting, you know.
Yeah.
Even the weird conspiracy Redgate shit, you know.
Yeah, and even going off that, Mike, I was going to say, Mike Freze was one of a handful of people that actually came to the Cottonwood City Pick down in Los Angeles when it streamed down there.
Yeah,
Yes, I was one of 3 people in the audience. Yes.
Yes, yes.
I'm
Yeah,
joking.
The roast isn't right now.
I'm joking.
And as I said, Mike, you say, you know, these things and stuff, and Deer Lodge doesn't get it, but a lot of places just don't get it, you know. And sometimes it just feels like you're spinning your fuck tires in the mud, and it's like, why do we even do this? Well, we do it because we have a passion for it, we enjoy it. But it's yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. It's like, dude, where the fuck else on the planet now can you go watch Glenn Ross? I mean,
exactly.
Where can you go watch that shit? Like, pull your head out of your ass. Maybe, oh, they said the F word. Who gives a fuck? Just go out and enjoy a piece of a Pulitzer Prize winning play. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And I want to add on, go to the filmmaking part where we were talking about Enigma with Mike and stuff, and he just went out and said, fuck it, let's just do it. So last night, I was on Main Street and they were filming a film that had not a huge budget, but the film had fucking Dennis Quaid in it. It had Kurt Russell's son in it, and it's right on Main Street. So I'm taking pictures and stuff or whatever. And for those accolades for that one fucking film, my God, I'm telling you, I mean, Mike's been around probably bigger productions than I have from last night, but it's like these guys shot it. They had basic lighting. They had basic cameras. It wasn't a huge fucking deal. And here they are just shooting it. And they shot everything within a couple hours, which is not a lot of time for those sequences or whatever. It's like, if these guys are doing with these big names, everything else, you know, why the fuck should we like look down on ourselves when we're like, we're doing the same thing almost, just not the big names. But they're out there, very basic shit. I know filmmaking and nothing. They had very basic shit, and they had big name actors in this production. So it was just kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it also gives you a lot of perspective too, that you don't really need a lot of money, you know, and those bigger budget things that you're talking about, so much money is wasted, you know. And just having been an independent filmmaker myself, like I just every time I'm on a huge set like that, or I see one happening, it's just like, man, they're wasting so much money. Like, it is just insane, you know. And it's necessary sometimes, but really, like, you know, it's you can be so streamlined, you know, with it. And when you guys do, you know, you've already made what, 5 feature films now?
This is our 5th one, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, learning how to do it with no money, learning how to do it with no budget, and learning how to work with people that have never acted before, you know, it's that's where you really get your chops. And then when you do get money, you know, you learn how to be a lot more you know, economical with it, right?
Yeah. And one thing,
make it go a long way.
One thing I wanted to add in, so I talked to a bunch of crew people because I was basically hanging out with the crew the entire shoot last night, and there's some bizarre things they've said. There's just one thing. So you know that, so Mahomes, you know the fucking big television production for Paramount, Yellowstone, right? They're shooting that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they're shooting that in fucking Hamilton, Montana, shooting Yellowstone, and these crew people that are paying every day, talking about wasted money. They told them that basically, so there's a scene and there's some apartments above or whatever, and the people that are just want to watch and see what they're filming, whatever, their faces are coming out of the apartments in the windows in the background. You can barely fucking see them. The crew was told to go to all those apartments and pay them $200 each not to look out the window.
That's ridiculous. I mean, talk about pissing money away.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah, and it's Hamilton, and then the the main ranch in Yellowstone is actually out in Darby, of all places, that you have
Is it?
this, you know, yeah. So it's crazy that, I mean, it's crazy, but it's also about time that Montana gets used for more of these productions. I mean, there's just, obviously I'm a little biased, but it's gorgeous, especially the part where we grew up. Like Southwest Montana is just picturesque, man. So they should take advantage of it more. And for the most part, like obviously most Montana people aren't used to seeing a production, so they might pop their heads out. But for the most part, people around here just kind of let you do your own damn thing, you know?
It was crazy because last night, so they didn't have permits to shut down the entire street or river. So I was hanging at the Montana bar, and like people were kind of a little bit irritated by it. It's like, you know, I'm like, to be honest with you guys, thank God you didn't come out on like a Friday or Saturday, because those people would not give a fuck whatsoever. They just come out and do whatever. But I saw an independent crew with very low budget though, kind of struggle through it, and they made it happen and stuff. It was just kind of interesting that whole process happened. You could sit there and say like, well, you know, there's a ton of fucking pissed away money on that thing.
Yeah.
But,
I like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Mike, I just want to say I like what you said about wasting money, pinching pennies, and all that stuff. I think Hollywood puts the cart before the horse, and a lot of people do. Because I've been involved with people that just say, "Hey, we need $100,000, $250,000 to even get started." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Is that what you want to do for a year? Is go raise money, or do you want to write a script and then cast it and plan it and then go, how do we do this? And if you don't have any money, guess what? There's fucking ketchup for your blood effects. You know, there's whatever you need. You don't need $100,000. You need a camera, obviously, and then just fucking go do it. That's all you need to do."
Hey, one thing I was gonna say too also is when it comes to that shit, is like I talked to these the last guy I talked to, so I talked to all the production crew, talked to one guy who was high as fuck, but I talked to almost the entire production crew the entire time I was there. And one guy basically says like, yeah, so it's like, do you do this full time or what do you guys do? So basically what they were, and this is gonna blow a lot of people's mind, you're thinking, oh, this crew came in from fucking California, wherever they're filming here. No, the guys I talked to like, no, we're located out of Butte. It's like, you're located out of Butte? It's like, what do you guys do then? We're just working here on these films. Like, oh, how do you work on these films? And they're like, well, we're a film office in Butte, and we contact people that want to film in Montana. Then we offer them a crew and everything. So it's like, you don't have your own original productions or fucking anything. What's the company producing this? And they're like, we don't even know the fucking company producing this. So it was almost like blew my fucking mind. It's like,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. So the guy eventually like, yeah, I do some of my own documentary stuff or whatever on the side, but I'm doing this most of the time. It's like, okay. It's just fucking crazy to hear that. It's like, oh, you guys are a film production thing, but you're not even your own film production company or anything. It's just very weird to hear that. I was like, I don't get it, but I finally got at the end of the night, but it was just kind of fucking weird to hear that.
Yeah. You know what you said earlier. I just had this visual of the corner bar getting out and like a drunken Jimmy Tilly like approaching the set, right? Like, because you know how he is when he's like hammered, and he's just like he like talks right next to your face, you know.
Yeah.
So you're Kurt Russell's son.
Just in the middle of a scene. You know what?
Well,
You don't look like your dad.
They'd probably leave him. They'd probably leave him in the movie, man.
half the time, well, down in Las Vegas, he was part of the reason those comedians came up to Montana, because he was drunk.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Jim Tilly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, like about what you're talking about, Pat, the guys in Butte, you know, that do that, like that's what they do, right? And you guys are creatives, you know. So like if you were, let's say, in an alternate reality, would have came to LA or wherever, you know, like and just started doing that, you would have to make a decision, you know, because you know, just the industry here, it's very much compartmentalized. And once, you know, people like there's an illusion of like, oh, well, you know, I'll work my way up to be a director, right? No, bullshit. If you want to direct and write, you just have to do it. You have to direct and write. And if you want to be, you know, an assistant director, that is a whole career, right? And because what, like, or let's say a cinematographer or whatever it is, and you know, once you kind of get known for that thing, then people try to kind of keep you there, right? And so, but that's the beauty of doing things on your own and doing things just from your own passion. And in Montana, just speaking of what Mahoney was saying about all the beautiful scenery in Montana, and just Deer Lodge and Anaconda and Butte. I mean, like I just see production value wherever I go. I mean, I was born in Anaconda, so I know the whole Copper King story and all the Butte stuff and the Marcus Daly and the Clark, and my grandma owned the Anaconda Bar for 49 years. And so whenever I go there, I just see that history, and Deer Lodge, fucking Phil Jackson was born in Deer Lodge, Montana, right? Like Calamity Jane lived there. Fucking Betty Crocker lived there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just there's just all this stuff that's there, that it's just there. And aside from the beauty, you mentioned Hamilton. I think isn't that where Marcus Daly's horse ranch is? It's like this giant ranch of horses.
It might be one of the points I wanted to go back to you on and iterate on is like some of the pieces of advice that I read about or got about was like, oh, if you want to be a film director, go to Hollywood and be a backup boom mic operator, and then eventually you work your way up. And that's why I agree with you, what you just said. It's like, how the fuck did I be a film director and just being a fucking boom mic operator?
Yeah, no, you totally hit it on the nose there, Mike. And I wish we realized this earlier in life, but then again, we're not that old, we're in our 30s, but still, if we could have realized this when we started doing this or in our 20s, whatever, it'd be better, is just fucking do it. That's it. You don't need anybody's permission to write something. You don't need anybody's permission to produce something. And, I guess we started doing that on stage, writing shows and producing comedy nights and The Dork and all these plays and things like that, and the movies too. But that was so much more rewarding to me. I used to think too, like, let's go to LA, let's go to Chicago, let's go to New York. We have to go somewhere because that's where it's at. And my friends and everybody's saying, I don't regret for one fucking second moving back to Deer Lodge, Montana, because we have literally produced and done whatever we fucking want. And sure, there's only 10 people in the audience sometimes, but I don't give a shit. I have actually done what I've wanted, and I'm not, blowing a fucking horse on camera for $50 a day just to get by,
Well, and just for folks listening, he's not doing it for $50 a day. He's just doing it because he likes to do it. Like that's one of his passions.
Shit. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you hit it on the fucking head there. Just do it. And once you land something, Cottonwood City came down there. Once we land something big, then people respect you. They go, how do I become a director like that? Well, you go be a background character in Spider-Man. No, you fucking go to your hometown and you get your friends together and you buy a camera and you film it.
And that path certainly can work. And it does make sense to meet people and just to be on a set or whatever. But yeah, especially nowadays, like, not even post-COVID. I mean, this has been true for the last 10 years, really. You don't need to be in Hollywood to do what you want to do in this industry. Eventually you need to come down here to do certain things, but once you get to that level, then you'll figure it out, right? And it's there's just so much illusion and delusion with all of it, and you guys have the real spirit of it, which is, hey, first of all, let's have fun. You're right. I mean, that's like, if whether you're a painter or you got to have fun with it first and express yourself first, right? And those are all the things that a lot of people chasing it never even experience, because they're just chasing something that is that's not real.
Yeah, I want to go back. This is the only time I'll give Mahoney credit here for a long time. I'll give you talk about resources and Deer and how we have so many resources here we could use to do whatever the fuck we want to. Technically, the reason Enigma fell apart is because the Montana State Prison gave us access to a certain part of the land, and then they kind of withdrew it. But Mahomes was I don't want to say a big part. He was the entire part of that. But you think about that production value with you're filming on Montana State property, prison property, which pretty much no other production company could probably do. Am I right, Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, it's like in any business, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I think. I want to kind of make a point that I think Kelly talks about, like just doing it. And I think there was probably this whole generation of kids that are maybe our age or a little bit younger that when Napoleon Dynamite came out, they were like, dude, this is fucking easy. Let's just go catch lightning in a bottle. And then a bunch of people tried it once and got frustrated. And now they're, like it's not just, those people didn't just make that movie like on accident. Like that wasn't something they just tried once and got super lucky on. And I don't think it's also part of this generation of like, they make a movie in the backyard and then it's kind of they're looking for that instant gratification. And so then you're spinning your wheels. And that's why I don't think you don't see a lot of like younger directors. You look at all the awards, it's all these super old fucking guys that have been doing it forever. And I think a lot of people were just like the Napoleon Dynamite generation of like, let's just do it and we'll make it and we're going to be huge. And that's just not how it works.
So I just want to cut in really quick. I agree with that, and I actually followed the Napoleon Dynamite. So what I did at that time, and I still do now, is I'll break down like, okay, what worked really fucking good in this film. So I wrote down a journal of all the fucking best shots in Napoleon Dynamite, and it's like, how can I incorporate this in our next film or whatever? So we didn't do so again. What nobody knows is me and Kelly, we go through script after script after script. We went through so many fucking written scripts and just tossed them out. Kelly writing an entire fucking script, tossing it out and saying, okay, till we get to our best fucking idea. Then we came up with the Mad Dad or whatever. The Mad Dad sequence from the Napoleon Dynamite, you can watch the shot selection. And it's the Mahomes, remembers, it's the puke in the fucking bag. That shot selection is 110% copied off of Napoleon Dynamite. Another point is like the Redgate film. Fucking all of us seen that besides Mahomes. Only person that's seen the regular version, the best version, is Mike Freze right here, because I have not even watched the best version so far. The kill sequences on that. How I did the kill sequences on that, Mike? I fucking watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre over and over again and fucking clip together the pictures. Like that fucking works so fucking well the way they fucking did that. So the main kill sequences on that are Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because that was the fucking feel I wanted. Was the voyeurism feel I wanted in that kill sequence. Mainly the one with what's her face, but that's what I wanted, is that fucking feel. So like you can copy a lot of shit off other people and try to produce it, but doing a whole film copying someone else, it's a lot fucking more challenging, But anyways,
and also the very best in the business do it. Quentin Tarantino, his whole career is about copying genres and just kind of making it his own. And I mean, people say that there's no original ideas. I don't know if I believe that, but I understand it, because it's like, like we're all kind of copying off of each other. We're all influenced, right, by whatever, and that's okay. And so I don't feel guilty about that, if you so, but with Redgate, man, it was well done. I would maybe take the cock and ball shot out. Other than that,
hey, spoiler alert, I haven't seen that yet.
Well, he's gonna take it out though, right?
I'll say this. I'll say this about Redgate, and Matt's a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan or whatever. Matt, you could put a certain kill sequence of Chainsaw Massacre. You could play it right next to Redgate, and it would look almost like simultaneous. That's how much I copied. It was so the shot angle and everything was so fucking well done. Like that's the type of feel I want with that fucking sequence. It just fucking works, You find
I
something that works.
Pat.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, Pat, like storyboarded it too, and I don't think we've ever done that with our movies. He drew little pictures of what he wanted. So actually, when it came time to film, I was the the special effects gore guy. When it came time to film, it was a lot easier because he knew exactly where to put the camera. Then wherever he was, I would go up and be where I needed to be off the screen so we could make the kill happen. And which, once again, I'm with Mahoney. I've seen it one time. He's seen it 0, but I want to watch it again because I completely forgot what the fuck happened.
And going off the original, there's no original ideas, as Mike said earlier. I think that everything is copied a little bit. I mean, there's so many people on the fucking planet. It's got to be copied from somewhere, but it's who can put it together the best, who can put this puzzle together the best to make people laugh, to make people scared or whatever. I just wanted to say something too about, like, I went through a phase, and I'm sure all people do. I went through a phase of like where I just wanted to do entertainment to entertain other people. And that's what became my primary focus, was like, what do they want to see? And I think that's back assward, if you will, you know, because I've started to fucking do entertainment and film and YouTube and everything for my own fucking sake, you know. And that's what you really, it's got to be a selfish thing. It's got to be, what do you want to see? What makes you laugh? Because if not, why are you doing it? Then it becomes work. I don't want it to be work. I want it to be like, man, I think this is a really funny concept. This is a really scary concept. Let's do it. And Cottonwood City, our film so far that's gone the furthest, I think that was the entire concept behind it, was we don't have a ton of money. So what can we do that's really fucking entertaining and really unique and really new? Shaky cam, you know, first person perspective, and whatever the fuck goes. And I think that's why it got such recognition for that film, is just because the concept was so incredibly unique.
With that shake, yeah, I just want to say, with that shaky camera style, whatever, I've been talking to Mike here lately. It's like, how can, you know, because some of the audio and ADR in Redgate it's really challenging. So my perspective is like, how can I fucking incorporate not the whole shaky game, not the whole Kit and Pete grindhouse thing, but how can we incorporate something like that into the Redgate film that makes it looks more natural and everything else? Where, because if you do the shaking cam, if you do that certain style, it fucking just works. My example is, has anybody seen Terrifier with the clown?
Terrifier?
Okay.
No.
Watch the opening 5 minutes or 10 minutes of that. It's all ADR. The audio is clearly ADR, and they fucking.
I'm not watching any of it.
Terrifier is fucked up. It's
creepy as shit. Yeah, that first 5 minutes, Marissa, my fucked up wife, she makes me sit down and watch this shit. And yeah, that first 5 minutes, I was just like, and it gets worse from there. But the first 5 minutes, you're just like, this is super fucking awkward.
Yeah, it's ADR, but like, find that style or whatever is kind of key. That's where I look at in post production. Like Mike's version of the wedding you guys had. You know, it wasn't, a lot of it wasn't 100% planned. He went out there and did whatever he could and stuff. And then in editing, you can make the magic you make in editing these days is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
We can do it editing these days. It's fucking insane.
It's everything. Editing is everything from what I've seen.
Yeah, and I want to touch on a point there, just talking about Enigma. One day I actually sat down and I took the copy of Enigma and I was like, what if we tried to chop this together and make it actually look scary or scarier, you know, with different music? They said it could happen.
Did you do? Yeah, you should do that.
I started it and it was actually pretty creepy, you know, like, I can't remember.
You should.
Yeah.
I did a remastered copy of it, trying to clear up some of the issues a little bit, but it wasn't like a totally different film. Anyways, I'm gonna take a piss right now. So Mahoney, can you talk about abortion rights right now? All right, see you in a little bit.
Thank you, Pat. No, I will not be talking about that at all. So, Mike, if you're not familiar, which, you know, I don't blame you if you haven't listened to anything yet, but welcome to the show. Pat has to pee often, and he will typically drop just heinous shit that no one wants to talk about. And that's like his attempt to keep the conversation going.
Exit plan.
Yeah, that's always his exit plan. That, or he's going to circle the wagons. Well, those are kind of the go-to things. And we'd actually gone. I think we'd gone, 2-3 episodes in a row without talking about Enigma, which is certainly a record I don't think we'll be able to break any other time in this podcast.
Well, we've been talking to Mike Freze here. I mean, we've known him our whole lives, but we've kind of he's been involved with the film industry and we've been involved with the entertainment industry. And we're kind of putting our heads together now. And we really want to make some magic happen. You know, life is short. So we're just like, you love doing X and we love doing Y and Mahoney loves doing Z and yada, yada, yada. Let's all put our skills together and create this amazing fucking whatever we're about to do. But so we're getting serious with Mike, and I guarantee the biggest things of our life are yet to happen.
I feel the same way, and it's funny how timing works out, right? Like fuck, like why weren't we doing this, 15 years ago? Why weren't we doing this? But yeah, the timing is right, and it's just it's really exciting. And I actually have really good pro gear now, where in the past I would have to like rent it or like con somebody into doing shit for free. And
well, and Mike, this is a podcast on not second guessing yourself, anybody out there, because the reason we're really talking is because Mike's done a few wedding videos, his own and his sister's and then mine. And that's the reason that we're even talking right now, because all of us, or at least Pat and I, Matt seen it, we've watched that, and we're just like, this guy fucking knows his shit. So you might think, I'm editing this little video that no one's going to watch or care about, YouTube, whatever out there. Fucking do it, because you don't know what that's going to evolve into. It's going to grow into a giant, whatever, house plant, building, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to say though, Mike, we're looking at like maybe doing Redgate 2 next, writing it. So you sent me that shit on Joe Swanberg or whatever, and this motherfucker Mahomes, he makes a film a year, a full-length feature film a year. One fucking year he made like 7 full-length features in 1 year. It was fucking insane.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was insane.
He's a monster. Yeah,
he's insane. He's insane. He came out, and Mike sent me a video. It was like he came out at Southwest by Southwest Film Festival or whatever, and said, if anybody can do it, if I can do it, anybody can do it or whatever. But yeah, I think talking to Kelly and stuff, and the way we are financially, whatever, we want to up the stakes though, and I'm gonna start working on Redgate 2 probably in December or January, and we want to film it next summer if you're interested in doing some DP, because your fucking equipment's fucking amazing.
Yeah. And I won't give away what I saw. I guess I'm the one right now who has seen the full version of Redgate.
Yeah.
Even the fucking director hasn't seen it. No. It's hilarious.
I produced the motherfucker and he wanted to show it to me.
No, I mean, I will say nice work, and I definitely want to talk to you more about what you're going to do with it, Pat. And a second ago, Kelly, or a few minutes ago, when you were talking about Cottonwood City, one thing I noticed in that was during the floods of Deer Lodge.
Yeah,
and a lot of people would have just stopped and quit, like, oh fuck, it's flooding. But you guys like put that in the movie. You guys kept going with it, and that right there can't be taught. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like, that's that initiative that I was talking about. And
how much would it cost to get a flood like that if you wanted one?
Right.
It's like
exactly.
God just gave us a $2 million budget on this thing and flooded the whole town. No offense.
And again, that film, we wrote a couple of scripts for that. The ending script, there was never a flood in that script, but it was an open script, and we cut out. We actually did not film certain scenes. We cut it out, and when the flood hit and it drove us out of town, it's like, this is perfect. This is fucking perfect for what we want to do, and then we just changed the entire script on the fly, basically.
Right, and that's how you do it. And I always say that when you're doing anything like that, filmmaking especially, you're looking for the undiscovered frame. Like you make 3 films, right? The one you write, the one you shoot, and then the one you edit, because it's always different. Like no matter how you think it's going to be, when you shoot it, there's going to be stuff that doesn't happen. And learning to do that, I mean, you guys do that with improv all the time. It's just it really is about just searching for that, just and you don't even have to search. It's just keeping that sense open, and not like cutting it off when because maybe if you were to have said cut, the magic would have happened. Like, right, like if somebody like said the wrong line, right, just let them say the wrong line and see what happens.
And most of the greatest moments in history on film, I would predict, have been completely ad-libbed, not in the script, completely free-willed. I know in our film, some of the best fucking moments is just something that some asshole says at the end of the scene. And you're like, that's fucking real. That's hilarious. That's original.
Yeah.
Yes, I just say, Mike. So, quick question for you, Mike. So, what do you think they saw in the Cottonwood City project that made them want to put that film in the festival?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, it was just, I mean, I think that every programmer is looking for different things. So it's hard to say really what they were thinking. But
I guess my question is, do you think they bought it like oh shit, these guys are actually in Montana and this is actually happening, you know?
yeah.
Before you answer that, Mike, I just want to add some more context to it. I researched that LA Comedy Festival a lot, and they kind of want to incorporate a mix of like known kind of celebrities with independent films is kind of what their mix is a little bit. So that's a little headway there. And go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's been a few years. That was like 2012.
Yeah.
I think, wasn't it 2012?
It was 2012.
When you guys came down.
2012, yeah.
I think that authenticity comes through a camera.
Mhm.
And that's why it's like, you know, it's when you're, even when you have like bad acting or low budget, or when there's mistakes being made, a film can still be watchable if you believe the story being told, right? And so if it's, you know, if people are trying too hard, that's when, like, you know, when you see like the pretentious acting or whatever, it's like a lot of people will bail on a movie, or if it's, you know, look at Hollywood now, just all this just nonsense, all this, you know, when Hollywood went woke, you know, it was just so obvious, right? Like just this, because they're not being authentic. And that's the thing, is that you don't need a budget. You don't need, I mean, some of the best movies ever made were low budget. I mean, you know, look at Robert Rodriguez. Did you guys ever see El Mariachi?
Oh, I have the fucking study book in El Mariachi. It's like my fucking study book, isn't it? I mean, that's just, you watch that and it's like, you know, if you're going to be a pretentious film critic and be like, oh, well, that's not professional, or oh, well, you know, it's like, that's not what it's about. It's like, hey man, this guy was on a fucking freight train and he just boom, and that right there always comes through, and it comes through on stage too, you know. Peter Fonda, who, rest in peace, just died a few years ago. He actually died in 2019. It was right around our wedding time. By the way, thank you guys for doing my wedding too. That's another part of our story, is Kelly and Matt really rocked my wedding, and you guys gave me a good experience, you know, and that was a great wedding.
It was a good time.
Yeah, but right before that wedding, Peter Fonda died. And I knew Peter Fonda a little bit in Bozeman, because he would teach some classes, and you know, when I first met him, I didn't know who he was. I just knew the name Fonda. I just thought, oh, you know, Jane Fonda, or Henry Fonda. That's all I really knew. And you know, Peter was Henry Fonda's son, and he made Easy Rider and all that stuff. And I took this seminar with him, and one of the things he said about theater that I never forgot was that his father, Henry Fonda, taught him this. You know, he talked about fear and what it means to be nervous, and how Henry Fonda would always throw up before every performance, even after he was famous, right? Like, because that fear never goes away, right? and professionals learn how to just use it and dance with it. But he said, if you say your first lines on stage loud and clear, then they'll hear you for the rest of the show. Like no matter
Really?
what you say, even if you whisper. And he talked a lot about just being open and just having that channel, and it goes with film and theater. So I guess that's a really long answer, Matt, to your question about what maybe the film programmers
I forgot the question.
yeah, but just being on that trajectory. If you are authentic with it, other people will recognize that, and you just have to trust that. And then people that don't like it. It's just not for them, right?
So I want to make 2 points really quick here, based on everything he said. First of all, El Mariachi from Robert Rodriguez. This is back in the day when you had to make a film with a 16 millimeter camera, and basically you call our stuff no budget. This guy paid $10,000-$12,000 just for the film stuff to make it, edit it in a fucking TV station, cutting together the fucking film on a fucking slice or whatever. And it'll, in my opinion, it'll go down as the best independent film ever because it launched his entire career. You can't compare it to fucking anything because it was insanity what he actually did. Being authentic. Second part is being authentic. I talked to Kelly about our social media channels and stuff like that. Being authentic. We're talking about doing that with our comedy show, and like being authentic, finding your real self. Boycott Patrick Cutler. I know, but I think people could sit there and say that's pretty authentic for me or whatever. So everything needs to be that authentic, and that draws the fucking viewers in and everything else. With that said, Mahones, you haven't talked in a while. Tell us how 9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah, man. Like Kelly said, and that was a perfect segue. I mean, you're really getting good at those.
I see what you mean now, Mark.
Yeah. But obviously it happened. Like there's no one's production value is that good. So clearly it did happen. The one thing I will say is before we get, too lost on what we're talking about is, Mike, have you had a chance to talk with one of Hollywood's biggest bigwigs? Have you met Donald Bromley? He's taken off.
You know what? I did scrub through a little of the archive, and I saw Donald Bromley with Jimmy Tilley and Patrick Cutler going to visit the Esteban sighting.
Yes, Esteban.
And I'm really, really interested. First of all, I got to meet this Don Bromley guy. Like, he's fascinating to me. I mean, out of nowhere, he just whips a pistol out and just starts popping off rounds. Like, did you guys see that with the Patrick? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it.
Oh yes, there's Esteban, guys. Once again,
Yeah. Okay.
he's on the show again. There he is. Esteban.
This is really, really interesting, man.
Is that fucked up or not?
Dude,
That's
first
fucked up.
of all, I think that if you show this to one of the ghost hunter guys, like, because I kind of want to contact some people and like see if we can get some fucking people out there. Because if you look at this, it's like, okay, somebody's going to accuse Don of faking that. Someone's going to say, that's fake, right? But seeing the guy that I saw, I mean, we were talking about authenticity just a minute ago. Like, Don Bromley seems like a real straight shooter.
Yeah.
Like,
So if you watch, for the folks out there, if you watch the YouTube channel where like I'm going up there, I'm pretty half serious. Tilly's a little bit up and down. Don Bromley in that YouTube video we did, he was dead fucking serious scared. You could tell.
Yeah,
he was dead fucking. And so if you look,
and that came through on camera. Like, he was like, guys, and when you guys said, hey, let's camp out here, and he's like, fuck you. And like he was, and then he whipped out a gun and started shooting, which was great.
Hey, for the rest of this conversation, Peck, can you put up that Padres game from last week?
No, he cannot.
That's funny.
I do have some breaking news tonight.
Hey, Mike, I would love to sit down really quick, Mike. I'd love to sit down with you and Don Bromley at like the Montana bar and
I
have
would
a
love
beer,
that.
because that would be an interesting conversation.
I would love that.
So here's I got some breaking news. First of all, Don Bromley was freaked out about it. I did not give a fuck whatsoever. I shot the documentary. You saw it. We cut out a ton of stuff out of that because he said I couldn't film certain properties or whatever. I had some breaking news actually. I found some more footage from Redgate. It's from a person in town. I'm not gonna say his name on this podcast, but I've heard he does not feel comfortable about talking about it or whatever. But I'm gonna find him. I know exactly where it works. I'm gonna track him down and try to get the footage though. It's the same thing though. Like it's weird, like they don't feel comfortable talking about their experience. They think it's so weird, but they got shit caught in camera. There's another person has a very bizarre video. I'm gonna track down here and I'm gonna hopefully put on the YouTube channel and talk about it here in the near future.
Nice. That is breaking news, and I like y'all. Everyone knows Pat well enough. It's like, okay, what sort of fucking fucked up things is he about to say? But no, that was a proper breaking news. Thank you for that break.
Say I'm kind of on that. Is this bullshit? Is this some type of his joke? Or is this, you never know with him.
This isn't bullshit at all. I'm just saying I know based on my film crew experience last night, I found another contact that had some footage from the Redgate area that's very fucking bizarre. The person doesn't want to talk about it, so I'm trying to keep it private right now because I want to respect people's okay, I don't respect anything. I just want to get the fucking footage to tell you the truth. But anyways, I'm going to track him down. I know he works. I'm going to track him down and talk to him and see if I can get the footage from him because it's another Redgate stuff that's fucking bizarre with aliens and stuff. With that said, are we ready to go into the deep end of conspiracies?
Yeah. Hey, Pat, I have a question real quick. So did you watch that Ghost short film that I sent you?
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Ghost,
I've been busy as fuck. It's been crazy. I've been working at Prison Pizza 24/7 lately because they just need me.
Hey,
I'm gonna
that's
watch
another awesome thing that you guys do, man. Prison Pizza is legendary. I think it's really sad that you guys are trying to sell it. I think I know why, but it's great. At least right now, it's awesome. You have the theater, you have the Prison Pizza, you have the box office. You're fucking making movies.
So I watched the opening of it. I got the context of it. I think the context is really good.
So in that film, I'll just give you a quick run over it. So this place that I work here, it's a medical device company, and they have like human tissue that comes in, and like human bone gets shipped in, right? Like literally FedExed in, and they make medical devices for spinal surgeries. And so a lot of these devices are needed, oftentimes, like for urgent surgeries and stuff like that. So it's people who donate their bodies, but there's a lot of weird shit associated with that industry, like cadaver labs and there's just all these bones coming in, right? And when I started working there, people would tell me, hey, this place is haunted, right? I'd be like, what? Like, how? Like, because these are just bones. Like, what about the rest of the body? Like, how? Like, what is does the spirit like split and hang out with all parts of the body, right? Because like this one body could be all over the country, right? Wow. But people kept telling me all of these ghost stories, and it 5 stories became 10, became 20, became 30, and I said, all right, I gotta make a movie. Then I gotta film something, and so we started making a documentary about it, and that's the film that I sent you, Pat. And then to keep it light, I made it into a comedy towards the end where they're like torturing each other and shit, just to keep it funny, right? And but we brought in a real psychic to investigate the ghost stories, and she was like really freaked out and like really had a lot of interesting things to say. Like she's like a clairvoyant, but she wants to go to Montana. Okay. And I'm thinking we should bring her to the Red Gate thing and we should all camp out there and then have her like really like zone in, and,
If
and
he,
like
so I'm gonna say this,
that
if
would
he-
be
I think that'd be
huh?
fucking awesome. I've contacted Don Bromley about doing that. He has zero interest whatsoever in doing that. So here's the biggest problem with that. Uh, when we got up there, we went to a private road, and the private owner of that road wanted nothing to fucking do with our film thing. So here's what happens: you through this entire private road to go up there as fast as possible. Then there's a gate. After the gate, it goes from private to public. But so to go up there, we would have to hike a certain way. I got to get the whole way. I don't think it's that bad of a hike. But we had to hike a certain way, and I 110% would be like, okay, let's camp up there and do a fucking film or whatever, because I have no problem whatsoever going up there. Because in the film it was a little weird. We were all a little bit drunk or whatever in the film that we made up there. So, but I mean, I didn't technically see anything. I don't think I really felt anything, to tell you the truth. But I think it'd be fun to go up there and just fuck around and just see what happens.
Yeah.
So
I heard Don doesn't like going up there because he got probed by Esteban last time he was in the woods.
all right, guys. So we're
Kinda
gonna,
like-
I thought it was funny. Hey, can I just say something before you switch whatever gear you're doing? I was just gonna go off how big Redgate is as a tourist selling point. Like I've been saying this now, if we can like make this almost like an Area 51 in a way where tourists want to stop, stay at the Redgate Motel, go to the Redgate gift store, buy a stuffed animal for $20. We could really play off that because it is interesting as fuck, and we're all here.
And if you want to do that, you're going to have to get Don Bromley to go back, because guess what? Those ghost hunter guys, they're going to want to talk to Don Bromley.
yeah. So
yeah.
let's segue here. And Mike, you sent me these photos before the show started about these the drones of the Pyramid of Giza. What can you explain to what you're looking at here?
Yeah. Well, let's see. Pat kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but yeah. I mean,
God damn you, Pat.
well, sure. So, just talking about conspiracies, it's really interesting. That's the thing that gets you.
Sorry, wrong photo.
That was a good one.
Sorry, wrong photo there.
Shoot.
I gotta get Kelly a snooze really quick. Hold on.
I gotta
Is
take
that
a
what I
piss.
sent you? Is that the chick with the tan line? I sent you that a long time ago.
Yeah. So what's the deal with these pyramids, or what's?
Yeah. So when I first started getting into I'll just say conspiracies, right? Like, it is fun and it is exciting, and but that's the thing where you kind of reach a point where there's just so much, right? And there's so, like, whether it's the moon landing or like Kennedy, the assassination, like the more you go down these things, the more frustrated you get, because you realize that you're almost, it's just a kind of a never-ending circle. And so I think Mahoney said once, you don't know what you don't know. I think you guys, I had watched a little bit of a previous podcast where you guys were talking about conspiracies, and and that's a good attitude really to have, because you got to think about, okay, well, what do we know and what don't we know, right? And one of the things that we do know is that there's these fucking pyramids here, and nobody knows who built them or how they were built. I mean, there's all these theories, but then we look at look at other stuff, like the moon landing, right? Like, did we land on the moon? Did we not? There's it. Nobody knows, right? I mean, it's because there's so many lies, and there's just so many different things that are spinning, right?
I just wanted to cut in here really quick and say, like, when you talk about the pyramid stuff with the you've seen these probably with the Aztecs technology and stuff, like the shit they did with fucking nothing. Like, how do you a lot of that stuff? How do you explain that shit?
Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. Is so I'll get to the pyramids in just a second. One of the things I've really been into is the underwater megaliths. Are you guys familiar with that stuff?
Yep.
If you were to Google that, Pat, I don't know if you can put stuff on the screen, but if anybody just types in underwater megaliths on your Google images, right, and just scroll through it, it's like a whole, like, it'll blow your mind if you've never seen this stuff before. And they initially found these underwater structures off the coast of Japan. Huh? Enigma?
Yeah,
sorry,
he's doing a Google image search of Enigma Cutler Brothers.
Yeah, it's an Hey, you guys should do Enigma 2 underwater.
Ooh, Pat was just telling us how you never film movies underwater. That's what Dan Aykroyd said or something, Pat.
That's what I said pretty much.
Well, James Cameron's doing it. That's the Avatar 2. It's going to be underwater.
No, he said Stevens. Well, maybe he's talking about legitimate, like, go on the ocean filming Jaws and stuff. He was just having this conversation earlier where Steven Spielberg was like telling Kevin Costner never ever film underwater. Pat was just saying this at dinner.
Oh, he said never film on fucking live water, which is
live water. Yeah.
Spielberg said Kevin Costner, and Kevin Costner basically took like $200 million in front of us, like, fuck you, don't do it anyways.
He did Waterworld, yeah, that's funny. So
there we go.
Yeah. So check that out. So, like, I think that one is off the coast of Japan.
Okay.
And, like, think of that. Like, that's like, like 100 or 200 feet under the ocean, and that is not natural. Those are right angles. Those are blocks. Like. And if you scroll through all, like, there's a lot of different stuff that's been found.
So,
but the interesting thing,
let's go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I got a question really quick, Mike. Just something I've always thought about, and I just want to hear your take on it. But with like Las Vegas and shit, but Paris, everywhere, New York City. What's the chances? Do you think that, like, society was as established, as technologically savvy as we are today at one point, or endless points in the past, and that's why you have shit like this? Like, this could have technically just been a ginormous fucking casino or restaurant or whatever they had back then. Because I'm like, what if Vegas 100,000 years from now, if humanity dies out, won't, and then we start up again, won't you look at Vegas, if it's underwater or even on land, and just go, what the fuck was this place?
Yeah, well, think about it this way. There used to be a sheet of ice all over the United States, like all over our whole continent. There was a sheet of ice that was 2 miles thick, right? So you can imagine what the weight of that was, right? I mean, it's unfathomable to think of the weight of 2 mile thick sheet of ice. And that thing was moving very slowly, just grinding everything underneath it to a powder, right? So, like, yeah, I think absolutely there could have been, advanced cultures even more than we are. And I'll get to the pyramids in just a second. Pat, are you able to look at more of those underwater photos? Like,
yeah. I'll go through some more for you here. I want to make one really quick point, and that was that becoming these underwater structures. One of the points that people should be looking for, or we have a mini audio audience here. One of the biggest points I would ask you, whether it be underwater or not underwater, is like, how did they fucking move these gigantic fucking
Right.
boulders? Like, how did they fucking
Well,
move
there's
them?
there's lots of theories on that, but that's the thing, is that they're all theories. Like, we don't know. Some people think that they did it by sound, like they had some kind of a sound technology where they were able to like move them with audio frequency. Then there's all kinds of videos showing like the wooden lever in the building the ramps and shit like that. But I think it's absolutely something that is beyond our like whatever we are right now, our like the human form, you know. I think that we have this amnesia, right? Like we don't remember what the fuck happened all the way up. Like there's records before Christ, and then there's, you know, we have the like the Roman Empire, and you know, really good ledgers and you know, records were kept all the way really until as far back like beyond Cleopatra and like really into ancient Egypt. But something happened on this planet. I don't know if you guys have heard of Randall Carlson. You guys know who that is? Excuse me.
I haven't heard of him.
No, that was a new one to me.
He's been on Joe Rogan a few times, and he wrote a book with a guy named Graham Hancock. And Graham Hancock wrote The Fingerprints of the Gods in the late 90s. And they have a theory, and a lot of people are starting to think this, that a cataclysmic event happened about 12,000 years ago. And on every continent, there's evidence of a giant flood, of a huge like deluge of water. And Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock went into the United States a few years ago, up through Montana and like the Dakotas and Oregon, and they noticed like all of this geography in the landscape. You know how like when a mud puddle dries all the way down, when you look at the edges, there's the little hills of like dirt, you know, kind of, it's like a miniature form of water erosion. They were able to see that on a giant scale, like you've heard of Lake Missoula, right? Like how it used to be this, you know, like Missoula was like underwater. And Randall Carlson talks about Lake Missoula a lot, and he talks about like the Grand Canyon and like the Columbia River Gorge. And what they're thinking is that like hundreds of millions of gallons of water, like an unimaginable amount of water, basically carved a lot of the landscapes of not only the United States, but all around the world. And his theory is that around 12,000 years ago, there was an ice sheet that, you know, on the continent of United States and in other places. We were really in an ice age back then. And he thinks that a comet hit the earth and instantly melted that ice sheet, just instant. And it was just like, you know, water, like we can't imagine, like biblical proportions. And when we look at all of the different cultures in the world, every religion has a story of a flood. The Bible certainly talks about, you know, a flood. And that's really what we're looking at with the evidence, you know. And this is kind of going back to what I was talking about with conspiracies. There's two paths that you can go. One is you can go down the rabbit holes of the stuff that you don't know a lot about, and then you can look at the stuff that we do know. Like we can see the pyramids, we can see these underwater cities, we can see evidence of a giant flood. Like, well, okay, what does that mean? Why do we have amnesia? Why can't we remember far enough back to know how the pyramids were built? Like, and then so about the pyramids now, so the Sphinx, for a long time, it was covered with sand, like all the way up to its neck, right? And like, you know, back in the 1800s or whatever, apparently one of somebody in Napoleon's army like shot the nose off the Sphinx. They were like target practicing, and it, you know, like they didn't know that there was this whole body of it. And then it was only I don't know what year they actually excavated it, but they you know, dug it out, and it's like, oh no, it's not just the head, it's this whole, you know, Sphinx, whatever that is. And the thing that they noticed was that there was water erosion marks all the way up the Sphinx. And this is another thing that Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson talk about, is that they looked at it and they're like, holy shit, like this is way older than the pyramids. Like this is like they're guessing that it could have been 30,000 years old. Like they think that the Sphinx was there way before the pyramids, and they built the pyramids kind of around the Sphinx. And there's all kinds of weird shit with the Sphinx, like underneath it, and there's definitely stuff with that. But the point is, something happened 12,000 years ago where a lot of shit got wiped out. A lot of, I mean, and it, who knows, it might have been a comet, it might have been God, just as it is in the Bible. Like, you know, just, all right, it's time for your comeuppance coming, and Noah's gonna build an ark, and you know, I mean,
yeah,
we don't know, right? Like I
think there's a lot of things. Your points are so, we could do an entire fucking episode on that. We could do multiple, it's so fucking crazy. It's so insane. Everything that's happened. You go to Inca and Aztec civilizations, anything else, it's so fucking crazy to think about. This is what I want to kind of spin this conversation a little bit and throw it back to whoever wants to answer this. But this we're going a little bit more deeper and uncomfortable here, because I think Holland wants to go a little bit uncomfortable here for a second, right?
I kind of want to go to bed, to be really honest with you.
So let's go back. We're talking about January. Let's go back here. January 1967. The U.S. is getting their fucking asses kicked by the Russians for the space race. They're getting their fucking asses destroyed. Yes, you know where I'm going here. So they they come out, right? They're getting the fucking destroyed. They don't have the technology. They're getting fucking destroyed by the Russians. And their first actual attempt.
Mahoney's done.
Oh, yeah, he might be done here.
No, I don't need to be on camera because I don't give a fuck. I'll just do some work while you're talking.
I was trying to keep it in Mahoney's grasp with like the stuff that we can see, so we're not like diving right into like the moon landing. But let's
dive into the Vegas shooting.
Well, can I ask Mike a question? Can I ask Mike a question?
No, just kidding. Go ahead.
Just before we get off on the moon landing bullshit.
Bullshit.
So Mike,
I literally fucking named a date. That's what I named. Jesus Christ. All right, ask your goddamn question.
Yeah, Mike, I was gonna say, so going back to the Noah's Ark thing, what do those guys think, that the two dudes you're talking about, do they think like Noah's Ark, that those remains, or do they think that's a thing, like Noah's Ark is still around?
Oh, you know, they don't really talk about Noah's Ark, but there's definitely people that claim to have found Noah's Ark, and you know, I don't know if I
take a piss me back. Good luck, Tony.
But yeah, I mean, it is really interesting, you know, and talking about the Bible stories, it's like, you know, people are really easy to dismiss that stuff and say, oh, that's bullshit, or that didn't happen, or whatever. And it's like, okay, but guess what? The Bible's been around, man, for like a long time. And guess what? There wouldn't be literacy if it wasn't for the Bible. I mean, the Gideon printing press, it was like that's like the Bible really started, like, you know, the European civilization and you know, well, not so much the Bible, but like Christianity, right? And it's like you can dismiss it all you want. And I think that everybody should have a healthy, you should question everything, because that's one of the things about what Jesus talks about with truth and logos. And it's like, man, truth is truth. And so you should be able to question it, because truth will always stand up to questioning. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah, and
that's
the
why,
second that you can't question, the second you can't question something, that's when I question it even more.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
so fucking curious about this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
why? You know, why is this way? Why? You know, that's all I ask myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I'm not going to speak for God or Jesus, but I would imagine if Jesus were here on this podcast, he would encourage us to question, you know,
Right.
because it's like, can you imagine somebody that has like that is just pure love, and that has just, you know, like, people wrote stories. I know we're not going to talk about Jesus here, but people wrote, like, he was so profound that you know, just his presence alone was like, it wasn't, you know, that's just not who we are. You know, Kelly mentioned something about purgatory. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, let's go back to what my
But,
point was here.
yeah.
This we're going off the deep end where Mahoney has muted his camera here, folks, that are on just audio.
I can still talk. You just don't need to see me sending out emails.
Well, Matt was the one that wanted to know about Noah's Ark, so it's like, okay, now
all
we're
right. Okay, I know this is a very sensitive topic for him. I'm sorry, folks. All right, so let me go back to my intro. January 1967, U.S. is getting their ass kicked by Russia. These are all facts, by the way. I'm starting out with it. I'm not doing a conspiracy here right now. I'm saying we were getting our fucking ass kicked by Russia for the space race to go, the first person to go to the moon and everything else. And it's January 1967. And we rushed out. We're fucking trying to get this thing up there as fast as fucking possible to beat the Russians to the fucking moon. And January 27th, 1967, they had the biggest fuck up probably in U.S. history. A fire swept the entire Apollo 1. The Apollo 1 was a complete fuck up. It was not fucking close to going to the moon. 3 people unfortunately died in that accident because they had no clue what they were fucking doing whatsoever. And they all died. It was a very sad event. And then magically 2 years later, we land on the fucking moon. All right, go ahead. Who wants to talk?
Well, I'll just say that I've dove down a few of these rabbit holes just because I am a curious person. But it's you know, those rabbit holes just go deeper and deeper and deeper, which makes it, you know, you only got so many years on this planet, so it's hard. But being a curious person, it's tough. You know, we've talked about the moon landing before. We talked about for 2 seconds. Ingenuity and curiosity, unless humans were drastically different back in the day. I think, you know, you're talking about how do they use stone hedges can carry them, because nowadays maybe we're just lazier, but you go and you have to do something and we're instantly coming an easier and better way to do it.
Yeah, no, I
maybe
agree.
10 years, maybe it took them 100 years, but eventually, didn't they have a fucking crane? Didn't they have some system to go, yeah, maybe picking up, you know, by hand the stone hedge and moving it was not the easiest fucking way or the most productive. I mean, that's how we do it nowadays. So why didn't they do it that way throughout human history?
I just want to cut in real quick. I agree with everybody said. I agree with what Mike said. I agree with Mahomes has said so far. But this is not called the this is not called the politically correct podcast. It's called the Prison City podcast. And I'm gonna divert this to Matt first because he's still on here or whatever. He hasn't quit yet. Did we fucking land on the moon? And did we land on the moon when we said land on the moon? Matt, go ahead. Let's go.
Oh God. Can I pull a Mike Freze and say I don't know what I don't know? Does that work? Like my personal belief, that's so fucking tough. You want it to be real. you do, but at the same time, you're like, okay, well, there's a lot of things you want to be real, like Bigfoot, but sometimes you just can't full on believe it based on that. I guess that's where I'll leave it.
All right, so Bigfoot's the same thing
That
as
makes
landing on the
sense.
moon. All right, cool. Mike Freze, like again, we could dedicate an entire fucking episode to this. We probably broke here pretty late, but Mike Freze, go ahead. What do you think about the moon landing and the space race and everything going? I laid out the facts. They blew up a fucking plane, basically, and then 2 years later, we're on the moon before anybody else. So go ahead, Mike.
How do you know Bigfoot's not real, Matt?
That's what I'm saying. We want to
Pat.
believe in it, but you don't know.
No. All right, Pat. So we know the moon landing is not real for a lot of reasons, right? This is one that I've really, really gone down, and when you first hear it, when I first heard it, I was like, come on, like, we didn't fake the moon landing. Like, come on. It's like, it's like a patriotic thing, and I've gotten into a lot of arguments with people, and people will shut down when you tell them that the moon landing's fake. Cause they're just like, it's almost like saying the earth is flat. Right. I mean, it's like, people just don't want to hear it. Right. But it's interesting when you look into it, and so what Pat was saying, because I know Pat wants to keep this train moving. Yeah, you're right, Pat. There was 1967, so Kennedy obviously had set forth this plan. We were going to be on the moon, right, by the end of the 1960s. And we had the space race with Russia, and they had the date set, right? Like this was the moment, right? Like we had to do this. This had to be a success, right? And so when you look into these things, you have to look at the means, motive, and opportunity. Any conspiracy, what's the means, what's the motive, what's the opportunity, right? Like, who benefits, right? Follow the money. And it's like, so the motive is there. And let's assume that they did go, and that, as they said, but maybe they weren't able to really film it. Maybe they didn't, I don't know for whatever reason, they had to film it in a studio. Like
Yeah, I'm going to cut you off for 2 seconds here. For anybody that watched the first moon landing, the cinematography, if you're a filmmaker like me and Mike Freze, if you're a filmmaker, for being the first time on the fucking moon, the cinematography was fucking perfect.
Well, dude,
no gravity. It was perfect.
Yeah,
no gravity. It was fucking perfect. Yeah.
We could do a whole episode on this, and like I have like little clips and stuff, and I would love to show it to Mahoney and just like show him like a 5-minute clip, and then we'll all just watch it and then get Mark's take on it, and then because when you're talking about this stuff, you almost have to like look at it and then talk about it and as you go along. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that think Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing, but if you think about it, think of the motive, right? And it's like, okay, like the whole fucking world's gonna be watching this shit, right? Like everybody is gonna be watching us. We cannot shit the bed on this. Like that was the only motivation. That's the Occam's razor. It's like the craziest shit is usually filtered down to like the simplest explanation, right? And it's like the explanation is oftentimes money, right? Or we don't want to get embarrassed or whatever it is. So let's just say that was the reason, that they were like, look, we're going to fucking show this no matter what happens. This is what we're going to show, and it's going to be great. And we got the one small step for man, and then we're gonna have fucking Nixon. Yep, we're gonna have Nixon call Neil Armstrong on a live telephone call, right? How great will that be? The fucking president of the United States calls Neil Armstrong while he's on the moon. Okay, dude, I can't even drive. you know, to Laguna Beach without getting a dropped call in the canyon. And in 1969, they made a call to the moon, right? Perfect call. And it's Nixon, you know, right? And it's like, and I went to the Nixon library here. Every president has their presidential library, and they've got all the moon landing stuff. And they've got the phone that Nixon called Neil Armstrong on. And it's this fucking like plastic rotary dial phone, you know, like from the 60s, you know, and it's got like these like 3 giant buttons on it. It's just such a joke. So it's like, but they didn't see the internet coming. I really don't think that they saw that this coming in this way, right? Like, obviously Hillary Clinton didn't see the internet coming, right? I mean, that's like, they just didn't imagine that this shit would be, because it was a different time, right? And like, I mean, just look at TV shows, look at the way reality was presented. And so for them, it's just like, dude, we could put anything on there and people will buy it. I mean, they could have put like, they could have had little creatures, you know, the War of the Worlds, the Orson Welles thing.
Yeah, on the radio in New
People
York.
lost their fucking shit.
Yeah. They played it on the radio. Yeah,
if they wanted to, and people would have bought it, man. Like they could have had little aliens up there, and
but
people
look
would have
look where we are today, though. Look where we fucking are today. COVID-19 and stuff. Look at the actual stats. Look at the fucking statistics. Just the actual stats. Guess what? The population did not decrease whatsoever due to COVID. It increased the same exact way any other fucking year. Guess what? Population experts will say COVID-19 will have no impact on the population whatsoever, but shutdowns and lockdowns will. So like, just look at the fucking stats. It's not that fucking hard to form an opinion, but you're so glued into your fucking, back in the radio set, your TV set, you're so fucking glued in. And guess what? Everybody wants to be with the fucking majority, and they want to meet every fucking social norm alive. Oh my God, you're popular. You meet every fucking social normal life. That's what people want to fucking do. And so they put out this new narrative where it's like, well, if you're 99% of the people that are dying of COVID are unvaccinated. Oh, shove a fucking dildo up your fucking goddamn ass, you motherfucker. Jesus fucking Christ almighty. What about the car accidents? What about people dying in car accidents every single fucking year? Nobody gives a fuck. The narratives are so fucking out of control. You know what the truth is, you stupid motherfuckers? If COVID-19 was not reported by the news every fucking motherfucking day, nobody would be dying. I guarantee it. You know what the truth is? Back in the Spanish flu, when they stopped reporting on the newspapers, you can look this up. When they stopped reporting in the newspapers, the media back in the day in the Spanish flu, the fucking cases went nowhere. If the media did not report on the fucking COVID-19 cases, you would hear fucking nothing. It would be nothing. All right. Sorry to get that intense about that, but let's go back to the show. Sorry about that. No, I don't apologize. I don't have no apologies for that.
If Jesus Christ was on this podcast, you know what he would say?
Wear a mask, get vaccinated.
He would say, go on. Continue, please. Like, because that was great, Pat. That was a great rant.
Yeah, I just pissed off. There's so much fucking bullshit out there. It's like people are brainwashed beyond belief. They sit there. Imagine a Twilight Zone episode. Imagine just a Twilight Zone. So you go to your house and there's a black box that sits in your living room, and you believe 110% of what it says. Mark Twain said, when you find yourself with the majority, it's time to step back and reflect. But people are so desperate to be normal, socially normal. It's fucking pathetic. It's so pathetic.
Well, and that's the thing that they mastered with propaganda, right? And so we're going to talk about the moon landing in a real way, because I've gone down these rabbit holes, Matt, and I know where you're at with it. And speaking of Matt, like my brother Matt and I would fight about conspiracies too, because Matt's a science teacher, so the last thing he wants to hear is that we didn't land on the fucking moon, right?
Yeah, good point.
And he tries to break it down for me and explain it to me, and I try to show him the footage and all that stuff, and it's you know, we're just coming from two different points of view, but the thing is, man, about NASA, right? Like we all know, or I guess if people listening to this, the hundreds of thousands of people listening to this on the download, because this will probably break your download record, right? But NASA was actually started through. It was right after World War II, and there was a race of sorts to snatch up the Nazi scientists, right? And the United States got some, and Russia got some, and it was called Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
And so that's how NASA got started. There's a guy named Werner von Braun that we snatched up, and he was a SS officer, right? And the SS, they were Hitler's special guys, right? They were the worst of the worst, and he was an SS officer, and
Just to cut you off a little bit, when we talk about the worst of the worst with what comes to these
Mhm.
Nazi scientists, they had experiments where they would shove a fucking thing up someone's penis so they couldn't fucking piss. They shoved up their ass, they couldn't fucking shit, and just fucking see what happens. That's how fucking
Yeah,
sick these guys are. Fucking sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you recreated that shot, frame for frame in Redgate.
And Jim Tilley was this test subject.
Sorry, Pat. I had to spoil that one.
Oh, that's good. That's but basically, not NASA was. It's not a dumb thing to do when you look at retrospect. It's not a dumb thing, and to play the Reaper's Gate here or whatever you want to call it, the pro COVID guy here. It's not a dumb decision to sit there and say, okay, we won a fucking war. We're gonna try to get the best fucking scientists in our.
And that's the Occam's razor, which is always usually it's the simplest explanation, right? And it's like, okay, so now we got these scientists, and they came up with the Saturn project. That was the whole thing that led to the moon landing. And Werner von Braun became like one of the founders of NASA. Like he was like the godfather of NASA, right? So it's just hilarious, like all these people wearing these NASA shirts, and it's like, dude, like those are the Nazis, man. You know, it's like it's just like in the Big Lebowski, you know, it's like those are the nihilists.
What do you think? It's so fucked up too, because you think about to World War II, and it's like China, Russia, the U.S. teamed up, and it's like we're teaming up against. We're gonna crush these motherfuckers no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so fucking weird that for me personally, it's like, okay, Germany, they did a lot of terrible stuff, but look at the fucking Soviet Union. Nobody gives a fuck what they did. The Soviet Union with Stalin, the atrocities there, it's not comparable to Nazi Germany. It's not even the same ball game. So fucking bad what they did, but nobody gives a fuck because we're trying to be allies or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. I think the number that Stalin killed was like 55 million people. Just in Russia. I mean, it's like awful, but anyways, just to kind of keep this train going. So let's just fast forward. We should absolutely dissect the moon landing stuff, because I can show you footage that, by the way, has since been scrubbed off of YouTube. I happened to capture it all and save it. But it's some of this stuff, like, and that's a whole nother topic, is the censorship stuff that we're dealing with now. But the idea that NASA is saying that we're going to the moon, right? So like, do you think that Nazis should be trusted? Like, do you think that they might lie? I mean, it's like, when you start to look at it, it's like, hey, maybe it's not that far-fetched that they fucking lied, because I don't know, that's what they do. Like they're all into propaganda. Like that's their thing, man. And it's like, holy shit, they're really good at it.
Yeah, Mike, and that's my biggest thing is the censorship. If they're going to remove something and not let you see something or talk about something, it's again back to the simple question: why? Do they not think you're smart enough? Is it too scary, or do they not want you to know something? That's my biggest problem. Like, just question things. That's all we're saying. And we are in the coldest of fucking wars right now. The coldest of wars. Your TV set, everything we've said, your radio, all this shit is literally the modern day atom bomb, and people just assume like it's fine and dandy. And the internet, has, like you said, exposed or been able to expose a lot of things. And I think it's just fucking interesting. I want to know, before I'm dead, I just want to know as much as I fucking can. And if something's right on one side, I want to know what the right thing is. And if something's right on the other side, I want to know what that is too. I guess I don't take a side. I just want to fucking know because I'm curious. It's that simple.
I'll be in trouble.
That's the whole thing is it's so fucking crazy with social media these days. Like, I can't question any narrative about COVID and they'll fucking censor it. It's so fucking crazy to think about. You can't question anything. There's no freedom of thought. There's no free thinking. There's nothing. You can't fucking question anything anymore. You can't. They'll kick you off. And that's the insanity of it. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? It's like, I can't question this or that or anything else. It's pure fucking insanity.
Yeah, and that's what the Nazis, back to the Nazis, right? That's what the book burnings were all about, is the censoring of information, and you look at communist regimes, like that's the first thing they do is they try to censor information. They try to take away people's questioning spirit, because when you have a society that questions things, then all of a sudden they're a lot harder to control.
You can't question the 2020 election, but CNN, Fox News, whoever can go on and say there were no irregularities for the 2020 election, right? Okay. So is it regular to sign in and mail in like hundreds of millions of ballots, mail-in ballots for election? No, that's not. That's not regular. That's not fucking regular at all. You stupid fucking cunts. So it's so fucking ridiculous. Like you're pushing fucking lies. There's no. This is the most irregular election we've had in history. Doesn't mean it's a fraud, but saying something completely fucking false. That's fucking false. That's fucking so false.
What you guys were saying too is people will just look at their TV screen and be like, oh, okay, that's what happened. You know what I'm saying?
So let's just wrap up on the moon landing because I know Pat really wants to talk about COVID.
Yeah.
The TV screen in the 1960s, so it all kind of started with the Kennedy assassination and the moon landing, right? Like that was the beginning of the modern propaganda of people really do. It is, dude, I mean, living in California through COVID, like I was really jealous of Montana because it's like, you guys didn't give a fuck. Like most people weren't wearing masks for the longest time. Like here, man, people were like driving cars with their masks on, like with the windows up and like, 2 masks. And it's like, and it's because their TV is telling them that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so ingrained in us now. And but last thing on the moon thing. So, and we will talk about this more in the future for sure, because there's really fascinating stuff. I don't know if Mahoney's still with us, but I would love to.
I am. I'm just waiting for this to be done.
Because
I think apparently this is going to be a fucking 3-hour episode, huh?
He's just beating one off.
What I love about Mark is that he's so he's like, he can bring like really interesting perspective, but then like have a really funny joke at the same time. Like he's really one of the funniest people that I've met. And I would love to just show him some of this moon stuff and just see
I'm sure he would love
that. Or Mark's like, I guess that looks a little bit kind of looks like wires to me. I don't know.
All right. Well, Joe Biden is a robot. Trump is a real president.
So when I'm talking about conspiracies, though, because I used to go through this a lot, is I always start with the softballs. I always start with the Kennedy and the moon landing. I always kind of get where people are, because if you start talking about chemtrails, if you start talking about like other stuff like Pizzagate or whatever, people lose you, right? And the whole idea when you talk about conspiracies is to have a conversation with somebody you don't want to lose them. You don't want them to think that you're just crazy and like, because people will put up a wall, right? Because it takes a long time to really get there, right? And so the moon landing is a really good one, because if they're not at the moon landing yet, then they're surely not at building 7 on 9/11, right? Like, or whatever. It's just like, you have to like reel them in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, watch Enigma before you watch Redgate. You know what I mean?
Hey, great point. That's the point of the night right there.
Yeah, we're gonna circle the wagons here, but again, I love talking about all this stuff. My thing, and again, I went off about COVID. I was fucking right though the entire time since day one. Look at the fucking stats, okay? It's not a fucking conspiracy to look at statistics. That's not a fucking conspiracy, okay? But the media puts out, and I've heard this again. The media is so fucking corrupt. It's so fucking mentally retarded. 99% of people that are unvaccinated are dying of coronavirus. Fuck you, you fucking pieces of shit. Seriously.
Okay. Well, Matt, Pat, to that point, do you guys remember, what was it? Was it March of 2020 when they were, right when COVID was hitting America? I think it was April maybe of 2020. They were showing us mass graves in New York. They were showing piles of coffins and piles of bodies and mass graves, and it was like, and we were like, holy fucking shit! Like there's like all these people are dying in New York, and they're building mass graves, and it's like, yeah, where are those mass graves at now? Like, why are we not talking?
What about
Like, who are those people?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
they fucking lied about that, and then they just moved on. And
they
no
lied
one
and they moved on. What about the fucking overflowing fucking hospitals?
Oh yeah.
Do you have an actual statistical stat where you surveyed every fucking hospital in the United States and clarified that, yeah, every hospital's overloaded? How about the hospitals that they had to give away with life-saving procedures and stuff for people because they couldn't open up due to COVID? What about those hospitals? So it's like, people don't fucking understand. They're so fucking brainwashed. It's like, you realize your TV set is not 110% accurate. Do you want to think your own thoughts? You know, the problem though is they don't want to think your own. Most people don't want to think their own thoughts. You know why? Because it's not socially normal. It's not with the majority. If you think your own thoughts, you're an outcast now in today's society. That's why it's so easy to manipulate people to get them to do exactly what the fuck you want them to do. It's just pathetic. It's like, if you think your own thoughts, you want to think an original thought, you're an outcast in today's society. That's just fucking pathetic. It's so bad.
So Pat, let me ask you this then, and I'll ask this of Kelly and Matt and Mark if he.
I've not gone anywhere. I'm a good sport.
Oh, he trust me, he's in this for the long run, regardless of where the show goes.
So given what you just said, Pat, given everything that you just said, and I know that you meant that shit that you just said, I think we should kind of go around the horn here. What do you think people should do about this problem? About this problem of which you're absolutely right about people being brainwashed. Maybe, just take 60 seconds and say, what do you think we should do?
Okay, here's what I did this on an Instagram post the other day, and I don't know who's all followed that Instagram post. My solution though is, this is a very hard solution for a lot of people, is take a list on one side of a piece of paper and write down everything you'd love to do, whether you love to say it, whether you love to do it, whatever you want to do, and write that list to, like, I would love to do this, but I'm so afraid of what other people might think. And once you write the entire list, go down the entire list, at the end of the day, start doing those things where, like, I really want to do this, I'm afraid of what other people might think. Start doing all those fucking things every day, because that's the only way to free yourself. Because if you're so afraid of what people think of you, and there's definitely positions where, like, you can't just be like the CEO of the Pittsburgh Pirates, which would I'll be someday, and be like, I hate fucking I'm not gonna say it, but I hate this group or whatever. You can't just say like random shit like that. We can. There's so many things in this world. We can write down a list of things like, I'm afraid of what people might think of me doing this or that or whatever. And you can go down and circle those. And it's like, free yourself from your own mind, because there's so much stuff here. You only live once. You're gonna die someday. So just write down lists and just say, okay, I'm gonna start doing these things I'm afraid to do because of what other people think. That's my personal perspective on that. Anyways.
Okay. Matt, what do you think?
So the question was, what do you think people should do
About the problem of the brainwashing of people not thinking for themselves, by people just only, that's what you're saying, right, Pat? Is that like people are completely...
Yeah. You don't have to believe in the moon landing or not. You don't have to believe in all this. Just have the ability to sit there and say, well, I am not comfortable being outside the majority, but I'm comfortable thinking my own thoughts. Like that's the point. It's not to sit there and say the moon landing never happening everywhere else. It's just thinking your own thoughts and looking at things. That's my point. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm a I went into the teaching thing. I did like the whatever where you're I don't want to say conformity, but I finally got out of that rat race, because I do look at it like people think they have to get this certain job and do this, or this, think this way, or it's gonna come back on a negative because of their TV. But in living in Durlodge, it's a lot easier because, like you said earlier, Mike, it's like, okay, the rest of the nation could follow these rules, but here in a town like Durlodge, it's like, what the fuck do you care, or what the fuck do we care about what they say? So I think here it's a lot easier to not follow in the masses, and kind of do your own thing, which we are. But I just think it's all about location. I don't have freaking cable here. I actually fucking hate watching the news because it's all brainwashing bullshit. And guess what? That's not going to affect my or our day-to-day things, what we do here in Deer Lodge, by listening to something that's happening out in Washington, D.C. We have to get up in the morning, put on the show, or make sure the restaurant's okay. So I don't really pay attention to that shit. And I think a lot of people should do that too, and just kind of carry on with their own lives. But like I said, it's a good thing we have a lot going on here to keep us away from that shit. Because if, I guess, just go to work in Deer Lodge, come home, sit in front of your television set, and have that all feeding your brain, you believe everything you hear, then it's like there's a whole lot of fucking world out there besides this place. So I don't know if that answers the question, but fuck it.
Kelly, you're up.
The whole time we've been talking tonight, I've just been thinking of one thing, and that's like, follow your gut and what your instincts are telling you, and seek what the truth is. There's no problem seeking the truth. I don't know why you wouldn't want to seek the truth, but if something feels right, it probably is right, and if something is questionable, it probably is questionable. So that's just the way I go about my life. And what to do about that, I think just live your life.
Well, I don't think God liked that statement, live your life.
Hopefully civil conversation.
Kind of cut out there.
My thing about, oh, sorry. That's one thing we need to do is get better internet in this fucking place. But I tend to agree with most of what Pat says. My only disagreement is that there's no reason to ever get angry or frustrated about something, even though it is, frustrating when you're trying to talk about something and you can't even have a conversation. But that's where I'll meet people at their door, and it's like, hey, if you want to talk about this, great. If not, great as well. Let's talk. There's 100 million things to talk about. But I'm seeking the truth in my own life, and I'm just kind of living it, and I don't think you ever get anybody's attention. Like Mike said, you don't just jump to Building 7 or, any of these conspiracy theories that are, off color for most people or whatever. But you seek your truth. If people are willing to ask you questions or talk to you about it, then talk about it. But yeah, getting upset about it, I don't think that's the route, because I mean that's more of a turnoff than just saying, you know, being able to communicate something. Even though I agree with Pat, it is frustrating as fuck. You know, it's just like, why is this off the table? You know, that doesn't make sense to me. So live your life and live your truth, and hopefully people see something in that and get curious, just like we are, get curious about that, and hopefully they come to you for answers and things like that. I don't know if I want to run for politics or something like that. I don't know if that's the route. I think that's a fucking cesspool, but that's what I'm doing right this moment, to fight this cold war that's going on.
Anyways, so before we get to the length of the Tony Savola episode, we'll give Mahones your last thoughts on tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to question pretty much anything. Yeah, I think it's a good time to do that. It's also a really good time to don't just, hey, I wonder like about this thing, and then just read the first article that you Google. Like, if you really want to know, like, do some research and read more than one article, and then do some research on the person that wrote that article. Because now any Tom, Dick, and Harry can write whatever the fuck they want out there, and if you believe the first thing you see on the internet, it's probably not a good thing. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. I live my life much like Matt does. Like, politics and all that shit doesn't really affect me. And it's like arguing with this guy. If you try to convince somebody your side or the wrong side, we all just live right in the middle, whether we want to believe it or not. You know, we're all just right in the middle. And most of the stuff that doesn't really affect us, like, who gives a bucket of shit? Because you know, the people that really control things don't give a shit about me, so why should I care about them?
Yeah, and I agree with what he said. I agree with Kelly said, you know, no emotion stuff, and just level with it. We are doing a podcast for views, so I'm sorry I did a little bit of emotion there. I apologize.
No,
It was,
but that's like let me say real quick too, Pat. Like, your emotion is absolutely what, you know, so many people are feeling, and I would just, you know, to answer that one question of what to do about it, is just have some empathy, and like what Mark is saying, like, we're all here in the middle, right? And it's like, yeah, like just learning how to hear each other, learning how to like be okay with like listening to, like, you know, politics, right? Like the left and the right, we just need to learn how to actually listen to each other again, and just having empathy for you know, like not feel sorry for people, but just understand that, like, oh, you've been watching CNN, like, oh, I get where you're at. Like, I get where you're at, but
Yeah.
you know, try to reel them back a little bit, but like try to meet them on their level a little bit, and then just do a little bit, you know, and that's what.
And what if I say no? What if I say no?
What if you said no?
Actually, all right, yeah, we're gonna fast forward it. You got the last. We did our last bandwagon here. It's pretty obvious you did the last bandwagon here. Run the horses or whatever. So, Mike, I'm gonna give you the last statement for the night, and then after your statement, I'm gonna cut the podcast. Is last statement for you for the night.
Thanks for coming on, Mike. Thanks for coming on, Mike.
Yeah, thanks,
Mike.
That was fun, man. Hey, Mike, I'm gonna Google the fucking moon landing. Thanks for keeping me up till 2 a.m. Thank you.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? I'll just send you guys this shit. So like beware. You just opened up a floodgate. I'm gonna be sending you guys a lot of stuff, and I'll send you stuff on the underwater stuff too, because like I would really like to talk more about that, because I had a lot to say about the pyramids and how that, you know, relates to our world, and you know, just the idea of conspiracies. Like, if I could leave with anything, it would be, you know, keep looking at what is actually here, at like actually what we do know, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, but we do know that there's these pyramids. We do know that there's these underwater cities. We can look at this stuff and just learn so much from it, right? And that is that's a good place for all of us to to focus our attention on, instead of this bullshit media that's dividing us on purpose, right? Because that's the whole point, is they want our minds to be like fighting over shit that doesn't matter, when the real shit is right here this whole time, you know. And it's just, there's so much life to be lived, you know, wherever you are, and we really need to swing that pendulum back, you know. So Prison City Podcast, you know, you guys, this is great, and I love that you're totally unfiltered on here, and you're able to say whatever you want to say, and you know, we can, it's just great. I mean, it's just like you guys are not concerned about perception. Like, you're not like, oh, what if someone listens to this, and you know, it's like my brother Matt can listen to this when we were, you know, talking about him earlier, but I'm not concerned about it because it's Prison City Podcast.